Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time of the day you're viewing this today's episode. I keep messing up the wording. Whatever time of day you're viewing today's episode, welcome to the R.A.H podcast. I'm your host, Rahsaan Corbin II, back and better than ever with another episode, going strong on season 2. Today I have a special guest, Vice President of the Year in Region 3 for NSBE.
Stop.
The Vice President of the Year, for NSBE and Powerhouse Region. It was funny looking back on that. I was looking at my certificate the other day. I was like, dang, he won and I won. I was like,
bro, it was an all-star team.
Yeah, it was an all-star.
It was an all-star team.
It was like the when the NBA All-Stars, they start doing the draft for like who they want their team. I was like in the first pick or the final pick, da 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 da. I was like, yeah. So yeah, it was cool sharing that moment. But yeah, we have Jalen Donald on, former vice president of the University of Central Florida NSBE chapter. Great to have him on. It's been a while been hard to stay on the same schedule and get stuff on. So I'm glad we're getting this started. But how are you doing today?
No, I'm doing great. Big fan, long-time listener, first-time caller. Just glad to be here and, share some insight, some knowledge with the people. It's an honor to be here, honestly.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here. Always good to be in the presence of more greatness, especially reigning from one of my favorite organizations in the United States.
Like you, dog.
But yeah, before we get into this interview, I get a little background about yourself. We're gonna do a little icebreaker. So I got 3 questions here.
Okay.
So I kind of did this one in the previous one. I'm gonna word it a little different. But what is your favorite cereal?
My favorite cereal?
If you eat cereal.
No, I definitely eat cereal. See, back in the day, I was a big sugar fiend, so I was big on Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right?
Mm.
But I think I've gotten older and my taste buds have matured a little bit. So even though I'm a big fan of cinnamon still, I don't like all that sugar that be in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah.
So I've now transitioned into my other favorite cereal, which is now my new favorite, Apple Jacks.
Apple Jacks cereal. Okay. I still remember those commercials back when we were younger.
Bro, they changed it.
I saw
the cinnamon steak ain't Jamaican no more.
I was caught off guard. I was like, this American accent. But anyway. All right. What was your last? Well, we can do Netflix, Hulu. What was the last show you binge watched?
Binge watched. What was the last show I binge watched? I don't know. I used to be like a
movie series or anything.
Because I used to be big on binge watching. I don't do that like that no more. But I will say the last movie I watched was I don't know if you're big on musicals. I watched Wicked. Oh my gosh, that movie was beautiful. I almost cried, and I don't cry. I almost cried.
I've seen the reviews. I just haven't made the time to go to the theater or watch it.
Bro, you gotta go see it. It is such a great movie. I didn't see the Broadway musical beforehand. I didn't really know what it was about. So I was going in blind.
Mm.
Yo, so I always say I go through different phases in my life. I was on a chromacopia phase that quickly switched to GNX with Kendrick. Now I'm on Wicked. I'm on Wicked time.
Oh my goodness. His music taste changing up to way too influential.
It's a classic.
All right. Last question. A genie grants you one wish. What do you wish for?
I'm gonna be ignorant. I want my parlays to hit.
Here on the R.A.H podcast, we do not promote gambling. We do not promote gambling.
I'll switch. I want to win.
No. Go ahead. You can leave it. Yeah, as the comedic relief in there.
Hey, bro. You relapse all you want? Yes. I just want my parlays to hit, man. Please.
He's like, it's done. It's done.
I've been losing for too long.
Anyway, appreciate you for participating in the icebreaker. Nice little segment. But yeah,
we don't promote gambling on the R.A.H podcast.
We'll talk about that another day. But before we get too deep into the interview, I've already introduced yourself and like your sweatshirt already says the name of the school you went to. But
Oh,
like,
yeah,
tell the people a little about yourself. Like, when'd you graduate? What'd you major in? And what was your on-campus involvement?
for sure. So, as you said, I attended the University of Central Florida. I actually graduated a couple months ago, back in August, with my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. Um, I was heavily involved in the NSBE chapter on campus. I originally started as the pre-collegiate initiative, like I was a committee member, and then I transitioned into the PCI chair. And then after that, the next year, I was the vice president. Good times.
Always a good time. What made you choose University of Central Florida? You from Florida?
Yeah, I'm from Jacksonville, born and raised. Um, it's kind of funny because every time I tell my family I got friends over at FAMU, they're like, "Oh, but you don't want to go to FAMU?" And it's like, I did, but I don't know. Like Central Florida, the opportunities that were just in the area, as well as like it's central because I have family like all across Florida, right? North, south. Um, I just felt like I could easily get to whatever family I wanted to get to, just being in Central Florida. So yeah, that's kind of why I picked the school. And overall, it's been a great experience.
That's what's up. And then what was the first organization you joined on campus? You mentioned NSBE, but you had another like leadership role listed. I don't know why I'm tripping my words. Leadership role. It was deal with Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, so I was also in the CWET program, which is like the college work experience that UCF provides to their students. So for 19 months, so from my spring semester of junior year till up until I graduated, I worked at Lockheed Martin on their sniper program. So that was an amazing experience. I actually had a we had a holiday party yesterday for the sniper team over at Icon Park. So that was fun getting to see the team again since I've been gone. Um, and then also because I feel like you got to have some fun in college. There's this organization, you guys have it too, CSA, Caribbean Student
Mm,
Association. I was there for just my sophomore year, because after sophomore year, engineering, NSBE, everything started picking up. So I was like, I can't be there like I want to, so I'm not going to pay dues and be an official member. But CSA provided a lot of fun. So that was also another organization I was a part of for a little bit.
nice. Now let's dive into the topics at hand.
Yes, sir.
First things first. We have leadership. Now, as I mentioned, you're a vice president of the year for NSBE Powerhouse Region. Shout
There's
out
some
Region
some
3.
slight some slight
I'm
power.
reigning. I'm reigning. Oh, my fault. House. I can't say it anymore because I'm in Region 2 now. But you know,
Flex.
it's still all love. It's all love. The Powerhouse. But anyway, what does leadership mean to you?
Um, kind of like how I approach leadership. I feel like it's building up your team, right? Um, and making sure everyone who enters under like your leadership, they leave better than how they entered. So
Hmm.
making sure you're uplifting your team, but at the same time, working together to make sure that the task at hand gets done. So understanding what's the goal and pushing your team in the right direction to get there.
Got you. And then how do you apply it in your day-to-day life? Because leadership can go beyond organization involvement. In your family can be a leader, in the classroom you can be a leader, but how do you apply it throughout your day-to-day?
So I'll do like some casual check-ins with some of my good friends, some of my family, just see how they're doing. Um, if I can be of any assistance, like the people. I think I'm like the unk over at UCF now, but you know, whenever I see an opportunity where I can give input on an experience I previously had, to help somebody who's going through it currently, I don't hesitate to be like, hey, this is what I did when I was in that position. Um, I'm seeing that you're kind of going through the same thing. So this is some advice. And then I kind of also I like updates. So, as they're still going through it, if you got the internship, let me know. Let me know how the interview went. I like casual like checking up on people just to make sure they're still doing good and they don't need any help, or if they do need help, I can apply it or supply it.
Yeah, the check-ins, or even people checking in on you, and then they might need something. So you gotta do that personal. You gotta set that personal kind of like layout first,
Yeah.
like get the blood flowing. Then they check in, and then they might need help, and that's where that leadership part comes in. A few months ago, someone who I went to school with, he's still there. I think he has another year left. He asked me to critique his resume, and I almost gave the response that I was like, I'm not a professional. I can help you with the resume. But then I was like, wait a minute. I have a job.
Exactly, you
You
have
know
a
what I'm
job.
saying? I
Did you not
gotta,
have to make your own resume when you was an undergrad?
yeah,
You know what it
yeah.
looks like.
So the great part is, like, I'm kind of making it make tripping on my words. Let me slow down for a second. When you said, "Let me know if you got the internship after doing a check-in with someone," so after I critiqued his resume, gave it his all the feedback back to him, he messaged me probably like 2 weeks later. He's like, "I got the
Mhm.
final round interview for X job for the internship or whatnot," and I'm like, "Oh shoot, good
And ain't
job."
that the best feeling?
Yeah,
Is knowing that your help like actually did something.
yeah. I like feeling like the man. You know what I'm saying? Help people out,
Yeah.
help people in the community out.
Especially
Yeah.
because you know that you were there in their position before. So if you can help them, not struggle as much as you did, maybe that's the best feeling in the world. Because the UCF people actually brought me in to critique the resumes for FRC, and I was like, dang, I'm kind of old. It was like
Yeah.
alumni. I was like, me?
Yeah, I was helping with recruiting a few months ago at FAMU FSU College of Engineering. Fortunately, I didn't get to go to the FAMU career fair because it was a hurricane that week, but I
Hmm.
still had a good time. Everybody came to the table, one, because obviously it's a career fair, but two, because they wanted to like talk to me and see how I'm doing with the transition and like get critiques on their resume and LinkedIn and whatnot. So it was a good experience always being in that position. But one part about leadership is that's very important is decision making.
Yeah.
So during those times, especially as vice president, you're the president's right hand. How did you approach decision making as a leader, especially when faced with uncertainty in the situation?
Hey, you can ask any of my previous e-board. Like the one thing I always said was, this is NSBE. If anything's gonna go wrong, it will go wrong, right? So we had like a lot of trials and tribulations during my time on the board. I'm not gonna get into it like that, but I think the important thing is to kind of you gotta look at things from at a bigger picture, right? What you need to prioritize, right? What's our top priority? Cool. All right. So after you kind of organize everything, saying, okay, this is the most important, this is not as important. Um, Making the actions right to kind of go in that direction.
Mm,
And if there's like conflicting, um, let's say decisions, well, which one needs to take priority, or which one's closer? Can we put this off a little bit to kind of give this more attention? I think kind of doing risk analysis and you know I'm trying to be all technical, but my brain's not working.
mm.
I'm
Go
trying to use big
ahead.
boy words, but basically saying, okay, what's more important? What's coming at an earlier deadline? What's going to cost us more money? How much money we got? We got money like that. If we
Mm.
don't, then don't worry about it. Because I think that's the one thing everyone's just so quick to spend money. Um, Sometimes this money don't got. So being okay with saying no, we got to push this off, or we just won't be able to do this, rather than trying to force everything. Because when you try to force everything, everything doesn't come out to the standard that you want it to, right?
Mm.
I would say it's better like quality over quantity. If you can have a few amazing things at the kind of the standard that you set for yourself and your team versus a million different little things, but they're all like average, subpar,
Hmm.
you know, go for the standard that you set. Don't try to force things when you don't have to.
Got you. Yeah, one thing I did especially when a conflict came up, I would call like an emergency last minute meeting with the vice president and the
Mm-hmm.
parliamentarian when I needed something, I needed help on a decision or I needed their input. So that's what I would do usually. Just kind of like making sure we're bouncing back and forth off the question and whatnot, because we all have different trials, tribulations, experiences, and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Trust those emergency meetings, like me and our president, we've had so many phone calls to the point where it's like, okay, I'm calling you. All right, we get like the casual talking at first. Okay, but here's why I actually called you.
yeah,
And now that we're both graduated out of NSBE UCF, it's like, oh my gosh, we can talk and not have to worry about responsibilities. We can just have a casual conversation, ask how our dates are going.
yeah. It's funny you say that because Julius and I, to give context, Julius is my vice president when I was president. We we hung around each other so much even prior to being president and vice president because we were on e-board a year before and then we knew each other before he was on e-board. But we always had casual conversation. We'll be on a tangent for like 10, 20 minutes. Our parliamentarian is like, hey, yo, I got schoolwork to do. Y'all got schoolwork
Hey,
to do. We need to hurry up. Like, what do we need to get done? And I was like, oh, yeah, my bad. So Julius and I was like, yo, we're really grateful to have you on the e-board, making sure you keep us in
right,
check and whatnot. But that's what teamwork's about. That's what
for
teamwork's
sure.
about. So speaking of teamwork, how do you ensure that every team member feels valued and heard in your leadership approach?
Um, I think because the main thing for me when I was coming into the vice president position, um, and I think that's definitely shaped how I view like how I like what kind of leader I am. When I was the PCI chair, I think I was extremely overwhelmed, right? I had because I was doing like workshops for the kids in like at a community center. They're like third through fifth grade. But I was doing it like every other week, right? So I was like 2 events a month. Um, and engineering is not easy. So studying, homework, we had meetings. I have like maybe 2, 3 meetings a week for NSBE alone. And then come that spring, I was also doing Lockheed work. So I was like going out of my mind. Um, and also I think because everyone else had busy schedules, and when I had to schedule my workshop because it was like in partnership with another organization, I didn't have a lot of support from my e-board. And it was like a whole lot of stuff. So I couldn't get like volunteers like that either. But long story short, I was overwhelmed, right? So when I went into the vice president position, I said, I don't want my team to ever feel this way, right? So I did my best to remind me of the question because I went on a crazy tangent.
Oh yeah, yeah, no. How do you make your team members? How do you ensure that your team members feel valued and heard?
Okay, perfect. So always making sure that you know they're working on what they want to work on, right? And what they're working on aligns with our overall vision, our overall goal. Um, and then I'll also like asking, like, I feel like everyone deserves a voice, right? So if you have an opinion, please speak up, right? I don't know everything. The president doesn't know everything. Nobody knows everything. So if you have something to say it, right? And then making sure that we all kind of like take every like opinion, everything that's said, we actually take it into consideration because, some things need to be thought out a little bit more. Um, and making sure that like I was saying earlier, they're not feeling overwhelmed, right? So I'm not forcing them to do events, right? But at the same time, do your job.
Mhm.
Um, and then making sure that they are given, the proper support on those events, right? So if I was seeing that, oh, maybe this one e-board member doesn't really have anybody showing up to their event, I'm gonna go out, right? What do you need me to do? What do you need me to help set up, right? I always made sure, to the best of my ability, that whatever event they had planned, it came out how they envisioned it to the best of my ability, right?
Mhm.
That also goes into making sure that it was planned properly in the first place. So I think it all starts from the from the meetings, the planning proportions, and also I've kind of made sure that our meetings weren't boring, right? I mean, you can only do so much when it comes to a meeting,
Yeah.
but you know, I joke, I kid. So I think our meetings were fun. I looked forward to them because at the end of the day, Um, I think the best team is a team that feels like a family. And to this day, I actually miss the board because we just had a great time. But it's if you can make it feel like a family, it's not going to feel like work, and everyone's going to enjoy themselves a whole lot more.
Got you. Yeah, Julius and I did one-on-ones usually.
Mm-hmm.
We did it. I think we did them before fall semester, during fall semester, and before springtime. So that that's another way you can check in and make sure everybody's feeling valued and heard. And
Yeah,
and then we also have like open discussions during our e-board meetings, or had open discussions. I don't know. I'm speaking in the present tense. We
yeah,
had open discussions during our meetings as well.
same here.
Yeah, and even on like I'm on a professional board for NSBE professional board for DC chapter, the DC Metropolitan chapter, and the president he does that. He makes sure our voices are heard, and he does like, hey, is anybody else anything they want to add before we get into the
Yep,
meeting, before and after the meeting, and
yep.
then even this past Tuesday or Wednesday, we had our first general body meeting, and we had like an open discussion like, what do you guys want to see for the year? What are some things you've seen in the past you want to see again? So I think that's really good.
Hmm.
How do
And
you?
then also on top of before you move
Oh
on,
yeah, go
like
ahead.
Um, I want to do one-on-ones when I came into the VP. I think that was like actually one of my goals, but again with like timing, I couldn't do it as consistently as I wanted to. But what I would do is if I see like, okay, I think you're getting a little bit stressed out over here, I'll call you, I'll text you, I'll talk to you one-on-one in private. Like, hey, how you doing? How class is going? You good? You doing all right? Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything I can do to help you or the board can do to help you? Just so again, like I said, I don't want anybody feeling overwhelmed. And additionally, like before meetings, because I don't want to just jump straight into work. How's your week going? What's a high? What's a low?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just to kind of see how everyone's doing for the most part. And then I would literally, if I didn't like what they said, like, oh, it's raining outside. I'm like, no, I need something else. I know it's raining outside. I can see. How are you doing?
That makes sense. But yeah, that's also why I did these icebreakers to before we get into the discussion handling business, we gotta, get some laughs in or whatnot. It was always a
Yeah.
good time talking to you though. That was almost talking and laughing. But in your experience, what is the most effective way to provide constructive feedback to someone who's new to leadership? Like, for example, like think back on when you transitioned to the vice president role. What was some feedback advice that the vice president before you gave you?
You see what's funny about that? We didn't have a vice president before me.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
I
We didn't have
remember
a vice
this.
president before me.
Yeah, because I remember I met William and Brianna at FRC
And that was
2022. They're like,
secretary and programs.
yeah, I'm like, you don't have a vice president or president? They're like, no. I
Nah,
said,
we be stuck it
oh,
out.
well, shoot. Let me reword this
But
then. How'd you help out the how'd you help out the now vice president? I'll say it like that then.
yeah. I mean, I can even give like a little bit of insight on, me going into vice presidency because I think one thing that's amazing about UCF is that we try our best to keep that family feeling going.
Mhm,
So the vice president from like years ago, she was an advisor. I think that was my sophomore year, like
mhm,
a executive advisor. We're still in good contact. So when I was going for the vice president position, I had talks with her, to talk about her experience, how she dealt with issues, so she was letting me know um about her experiences and just overall, like kind of what to expect getting into the role, right? Especially because originally Nesby 50 was supposed to be in Orlando. So when it's like in your home city, all eyes are on you. Companies gonna be reaching out to you. You're gonna be a big deal at the convention.
mhm.
So we had a whole bunch of people coming to me and Brianna, talking to us, asking us questions. So we like alumni help is like huge. But going into the new vice president, what we do is we kind of have like transition meetings. So we have to do a transition report. And then we have to go over that report with the new electee. So we literally sat down in a Panera. at the end of the semester. Um, Chatted up for the most part, and then kind of went over the roles, expectations. I was throwing out like every random scenario that might pop up, so he can start thinking of like how he could deal with it. And also letting him know what I think I did well in the position, right? But also what I feel like I could have done better. Um, I think one thing for me was I gave a lot of energy to my team that I should have taken for myself as well. So let him know, hey, you got to take some time for yourself, right? Um, and then still, I'll check up on him now. How our class is going, how's work going, how's the position going. He's in the fraternity too. He crossed Sigma. That was our springs, my springs like last spring.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hey man, you got a lot on your plate. You breathing? You okay?
Yeah.
You got a social life? So just always being like an open ear to the the next man up so they can come to you for advice. Because again, you've been through it most likely, and you have a kind of a different outlook or view that maybe they might not have considered before.
Mm. Got you. Yeah, I think I never thought of that. Given different scenarios, like what are you gonna do if like there's a last minute call, no one's at a I'm repeating myself. No one's at an event and like the president's not available. What do you do?
It
Type of
happens.
thing. Yeah. So it's like that. I think that's really good to have uh, for for like potential leaders in the future. Which this transitions to the next question.
He's a pro. Many positions.
That's crazy. I'm doing this. I'm free. I'm gonna say this on record. I'm freestyling these transitions right now. It was gonna flow regardless, but these transitions just so happen.
This is what
So,
happens when you get season two. You're a professional.
but were there any situation where you identified future leaders within your organization or even on the e-board? Say like, hey, you should do this position on e-board next year. If you want to get involved, you should do like secretary, join a committee. Like, have there been a situation like that where you like identified and started pushing people?
Yeah, and I think I was only able to do that because people before me saw a leader in me. But if you ask anybody, I kind of how I would say inspired to be on the board, they'll tell you I forced it on them. Um, I don't know. I feel like you low key gotta force it on them a little bit, uh, off the record,
Mhm.
because so when I was the PCI chair, right? So that was my junior year. Um, I needed a committee to kind of help me, plan out my stuff and like actually go through with my events and my workshops for the kids. I needed a team. So we were doing what event was that? I think it was like intro to engineering for like our freshmen. Um and I met my boy Corey in there because I had like just advertised one of my workshops. He was like, "Oh, I want to go." I was like, "Oh yeah, for sure, man. Come on, glad to have you." So he came to my workshop and he did an amazing job. I was like, "You want to know what, Corey? You should be on my committee." I was like, "Actually, you don't got a choice. Fill out this form for me." And boom, that was my first committee member right there.
I don't know whether to say nice, clever, or what, but
Sometimes hey, off the record, sometimes you gotta trap them. But I only did that because I could see, and he even told me it was a great time. He had a great time, playing with the kids, teaching them about STEM. So I was like, he looks like he'd be good at this. So I gave him a slight nudge. Um, and then as I worked with him throughout the school year, I actually had another kid come on. His name was Bryce. I didn't force him in this time. He actually wanted to be there. And again, you just recognize good work when you see it, right? So
yeah,
it's like, hey, you have to make them understand that if you want the organization to continue being great how you see it, you got to put in work too, right? Because I tell people all the time, like NSBE, anything that you put your mind to, anything that you're working towards, it's only going to be as good as the effort you put into it, right?
hmm
So I was like, hey, you guys are doing great work on my committee. right? If you want the PCI program to continue being amazing, I think you two would be great PCI chairs. So I encourage them to apply for the position. I told them to start brainstorming ideas because you can't just copy me. One thing, like one thing I like to tell people, I'm like, don't meet me, beat me, right? Be better than me, right? So come up with new ideas. How can we make this program better? And because I think, like I said, I was overwhelmed, I was able to finesse bringing them both on as PCI chairs. So we had two. Um, but that's how I kind of get people into leadership. Just recognizing greatness and encouraging it out of them, right? And what's amazing now is that, like when I was the PCI chair, we didn't have a full board, right? Like I said, we didn't have a president or vice president, so we we're actually like fighting for people to get onto the board. So I think another way to kind of bring on new leaders is to make whatever you're whatever you want to bring the new leaders into, whether it be like organization, a project, whatever, make them enjoy it, right? Make them want to make it better. So when we were on the board, I think we had an amazing, my first year on the board, I think we had an amazing year. And it inspired people to say, hey, I want to join the board. I want to be a part of this, right? So we had like a huge board the next year when I was the vice president because people actually wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. And then because again, we did an even better job because now we had even more people who want to be there, we encouraged more leaders to come on. So more people came in behind us. And from how I see it, they're doing an amazing work even after I'm gone. So you gotta be good. I don't want to say bandwagon, but it's like everyone might be on a good team. Mm-hmm. Right. So if you can make a good team, a good organization to the best of your ability, you can inspire people to come in behind you and make it even better.
Yeah. Got you. Yeah, it's a funny story actually with a lot of people, well, I'll say it as a general overview, then go to the story, but generally I was always like, hey, you should come to NSBE meeting. This is like my first year on the e-board. We only had like 10, 15 people per meeting, general body meetings. And like, you should come to NSBE, you should come to NSBE, da 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 da. And then as time went on, people saw us growing and improving. Then they would show up. They would want to be on e-board and whatnot. So it's always good to set that standard and example. And
Exactly.
like last spring 20, yeah, spring 24, I was in a lab and one of the people, I'm not going to name drop, but one of the people in my lab, they ended up sitting at the same table as me. It's like second day of lab or second lab we had, and she's a freshman. She was like, we were talking just like small talk, on campus involvement, all of us at the table. And then she was like, I'm in this, and that. I'm trying to get involved in NSBE, but I don't know how to get involved with it. I said, oh, that's funny. I'm the president of the chapter. She's like, oh, really? And then I was like, are you in the group me? She's like, no, I'm not in the group me. I said, here's the group me, follow us on Instagram and whatnot, come to our meetings. And fast forward 2 months later at e-board nominations, I nominated her for secretary because she said she wanted to get involved in NSBE. So I'm like, let's get you involved in NSBE. So now she's the secretary for the chapter.
That's always like my favorite question. Yeah, like I really want to be like involved in NSBE, but I don't know where to start. Well, you're talking to the right person.
Yeah.
I just so happen to be the vice president.
I said it so nonchalantly, oh my goodness, nonchalantly. There we go, nonchalantly. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the president. She's like, really? And then it kind of went from there. Yeah.
No, that's honestly amazing because like when people start gaining that interest, it makes it easier to maintain because now people want to be a part of something great. When it's kind of not there just yet, you kind of got to see the potential in it, build it up, and then people can follow behind you. So you got to be like that spark, that initial spark for people to be like, yes, that's something that I want to do too. And just like you said, like NSBE didn't have like how the kids say motion when I first got to UCF. But my senior year when I was getting ready to graduate, it was our first event of the year. We were doing a little back to school pool party. And people who weren't even engineers, we were at the Black Suite for like the multicultural student center at UCF. Mm-hmm. People were like, hey, are y'all going to the NSBE pool party? I was like, huh? y'all people talking about our event and they're not even engineers. Oh my god.
You're like, yeah, I'm the vice president. Of course I'm going.
Yeah, right. I was so shocked people were talking about it. So we were like one of the I'm
The
a
talk of the
brag.
town. The
I'm a
talk of the
brag. We were the talk of the town. We were one of the
yeah.
biggest organizations on campus. And it was just an amazing feeling because, like I said, it wasn't like that when I first got there. So being that initial spark to kind of help build it up to what it is today, amazing.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, we're gonna transition to a new topic now. With leadership, being a student leader, it requires a lot of balance, not just within the leadership team or organization, but with your personal life, school life, and whatnot. So, like, how was that balance for you when you were vice president? Like, was balancing school? You said you're balancing Lockheed Martin as well. Like, how'd you maintain it? Maintain yourself?
Um, I if you ask anybody on my board, they'll tell you I was stressed the entire time, and they're probably right. But I think the important thing is to kind of set boundaries, right? Um, Kind of saying, okay, this day is my day, or after this time, this is just me. Um, I kind of had my days kind of blocked off. So like from this time to this time, I'm working, right? From this time to this time, I'm in class. Don't bother me. From this time to this time, it's either a NSBE event, NSBE meeting, and then after that, study, schoolwork, and then at a certain time, call it off. Go to sleep. Go watch some TV or something.
Well,
And then uh I would always say like Sundays were my day, right? Don't bother me on Sunday. I'm doing absolutely nothing. I'm upstairs. I'm watching football. Don't talk to me.
mm,
So I'd setting those boundaries, saying, okay, these times are specifically for me, right? I'll help you when I get the chance, but set those boundaries.
what about the time management part when you're in the moment? Like the heat of the moment, Monday through Friday, we're in school those days, and you might get text in the middle of class, you might get a call from the president saying, hey, we need to meet ASAP. Like, how'd you manage your time?
What's ironic is I think I was the one bothering Brianna, our president. I was like, hey, we need to talk. I was the person bothering her. Um, but I think recognizing when you have time, right? So if it's like a quick little text message, like some if it's as small as, hey, Jalen, do we have a meeting today? And I'm in class, it's just a little quick, yes, we do. It's sent back in it, right? But if it's something more extensive, as in like, oh, I need help contacting this company, or this company's not responding, I don't know what to do, say, okay, I'm in class or I'm working right now. I'll be able to get back to you at this time, such and such and such and such. Again, like I think a big part of life is prioritizing, right? So in the heat of the moment, if it's something big that cannot be ignored, then it's like, okay, what am I doing right now? Can I take a second to step away? No. Okay, can I pass this on to somebody else to kind of handle it for me in the meantime? Or can it wait a little bit?
Mm-mm.
Right. So again, in the heat of the moment, it's literally prioritizing. If it's a quick message, send it. If it's something that's going to take more time, let me call you back.
Got you. Can you share a time, if you feel comfortable, can you share a time about like a day or even a week where you struggled to, balance everything and like how you managed it?
Mm, I think the most dreaded week for all of us is like finals, right?
Yeah.
But I'll say fall finals because in the spring like NSBE starts to die down a lot because you're stepping off the board.
Yeah, the transition period.
Yeah, so we weren't really doing much. So I'll say like fall final season. So I'll say the struggle there was okay, we have to get ready for national convention. Okay, but I also have work, but I also got these tests to study for, blah, 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 blah. So I think what was big for me was I would talk to my boss, right? And I'd be like, okay, I have a final on this day, this day, this day. I'm not gonna be able to work as much as I would before. So if you could please like give me some grace during this like period and be like, oh yeah, for sure, man, take as much time as you need. So getting that squared away. Um, and then also with Nesby, letting the whole team know, hey, we're in final season. So unless it's an emergency, let's kind of like dial back on, I need help, I need help, I need help, right? And they're probably, if they're watching this episode, it's like, he's a liar. He's a liar. He doesn't follow his own advice. Um, and then what else? School, just understanding that, okay, like these finals, they're going to make or break me. So I need to actually like sit down and study for this. Because dang, final season was just so stressful. I mean, heck, I think I was like up at like 4 o'clock in the morning the night before I graduated, trying to finish up my my senior design report. I almost missed my graduation. I almost didn't walk. My mom had to bang on my window. Jalen! I was like, oh.
Yeah. I, was I can't imagine like, oh my God, where's my shoes?
My mom was like, where you sleep? I was like, yeah. I just fell asleep on accident. I didn't mean to.
I was gonna ask about how boundaries played in maintaining everything, but you did mention that you blocked off time. You said Sunday's your me time. You gave a heads up to the board or members. They're like, hey, unless it's urgent, do not text me until this time. So I think that's you answered most of the questions for the school life, school life balance, student leadership balance.
I remember this one time, my membership chair, she called me. I think it was like either 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, what are you doing right now? what are we talking about? What is so urgent we need to talk at 10, 11 o'clock at night? You're not tired?
Shit, I will be tired.
I forgot what we even talked about, but it got situated. I don't even know.
Shoot, I remember there was a point. This was before I was president. This was before I was vice president, where I started using the bedtime feature on the iPhone.
Love it.
So people knew as soon as 10 o'clock hits, my phone's on D&D. I'm chilling watching TV, and people do have to call me around that time. But then it got to a point where I had to keep my phone off of like D&D unless I'm doing work
just
or
in
going to
case.
bed, just in case like something happens or whatnot. But yeah, I remember when I was vice president. When I first became vice president, I became vice president like halfway through fall semester, fall 22. And that was like my hardest semester. I had two labs. I had, I think I was taking 18 credit hours too. That was the hardest. I was balancing everything, doing my best. I'm not gonna lie, how I balanced it, people always ask me. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. I slept, but I didn't sleep. I took naps.
That's my answer.
I took naps during the day. Like when I had a big gap between class. I remember I had a 9 o'clock, and then I had a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock class. So I just stayed at engineering school. I'm like, I'm not going back to my dorm. If I go back to my dorm, I'm going to sleep.
No, I live by that religiously. Like when I was on campus, I lived by that religiously. I'm not going back to my dorm. If I go back to my dorm, I'm falling asleep.
Yeah, and I will say, especially when times get hard, make sure you fall back on your why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you here?
That's important.
Why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why are you in leadership? Why are you? What keeps you going? So I struggled finding that feeling, and I was just like, you know what? It's because like I'm meant to be here. Sometimes it's just that plain and simple.
No, and that's huge because I think if you don't have a why, you're not going to want to put forth the proper effort, right? That's why I always tell people, hey, I know leadership, it's actually ironic, right? Because when I was like a freshman, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna join NSBE and I'm gonna work my way up to the president. But for me, I didn't know NSBE like that. So I was doing it for resume building, right? But eventually you get to that point where, like you said, you need that why. So you can keep going when the times get tough. Because for me, like for NSBE, the why was I really love this organization. These people feel like my family away from home. And I want to make sure that everyone here is successful. It brings me a nice little joy when my team is successful, whether it's the e-board or just the members, right? So that's my why. I want everyone here to be successful. And then for like engineering, a lot of people say they're trying to get paid. I'm trying to get paid. But
Mm.
if that's the only reason you're doing it, you're not gonna be able to make it in the long run because those classes get hard. You're not gonna sleep some nights. I almost missed my graduation trying to finish up a report. So if your why is, oh, I'm just trying to get paid, I don't know, buddy. But if it's like I'm really invested in this technology, I, I actually this is something I actually want to do with my career, then you'll make it in the long run.
Yeah, I remember. I'll give an example. Like staying up late. Like I would stay up late writing lab reports because like I said, I had two labs, and I would do the lab report the same day as the lab, just so I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't get it mixed up with the other deadline for the other lab, especially with the pre-labs and whatnot. So there's nights
Mm-hmm.
I stayed up late finishing up some work for Intro to VHDL lab or even microprocessors lab, and I was stressing. But I was maintaining. I was going through. I still ate my good food. I
Yep.
drank water, did my
Yep.
best to sleep. I kept my room clean. That's the one part I was happy about. I kept my room clean for the
Got
most
to.
part. But yeah, that mental clutter can definitely build up. But transitioning to life after graduation, so you say you recently just graduated. What are you doing right now? Like I know you said you're still in the job search
Yeah. So
right
still
now.
job searching, but for my mental sanity, how I phrase it is I'm on vacation. I'm not
Mm,
unemployed. I'm on vacation.
mm,
Because as everyone says, you're going to be working for the rest of your life, right? So if you can't take the time, like in between school and that actual job, to actually enjoy yourself, um, you're not living for real, right? Um, because I think everything's about perspective. I could be like, oh my gosh, I don't have a job. I don't have a job. I'm like, no, I worked for 4 years straight, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring, summer. I'm tired. I honestly say like this is might be like a blessing in disguise from God, just saying, "Hey, brother, my son, you're tired.
mm.
Take a second, relax, enjoy. You're gonna get your job when you're ready, right?" Since I've graduated, I've been to Indianapolis. I went to Disney a good amount of times. I went to London and Paris for a week. Right, I'm about to go to Indianapolis again, and then right to New York. So take that time to enjoy yourself again, remember why you're doing it, and then so that's what I'm doing right now.
Just traveling.
Just traveling, spending my
Nice.
money. I'm probably like the brokest, the
Brokest
richest
traveler.
broke, the richest brokest traveler. It's like, how you got all this money? I don't even know, man. My
Yeah.
parlays ain't hitting.
Yeah. I think that's always good to have, take that break before, working and whatnot. I made the mistake. I'm not gonna say I made the mistake. I made the decision to go right into work after graduation. Like a month after, I didn't even unpack my bags and whatnot, and I was already planning out my next few steps. I got a car. I had to figure out my living situation, and I
Mm-hmm.
finished up my last minute paperwork. And I will say, I did kind of burn myself out. Everybody was like, "Yeah, I'm going on vacation before I go to work. I don't start till August." I'm like, "Oh, I start in June.
But
I started
hey,
June
burnout's
3rd."
real. Burnout's real. You
Yeah,
gotta give yourself that break.
yeah. I will say that's one part that was kind of hard for me, the transition, because I was so used to seeing the same people every day. And I'm used to 3 month internships. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
like you don't see the end of like your time at that company or the time
Right.
at wherever you're at. So that's how I kind of had to pace myself afterwards and find that transition, find a comfortable transition, I'll say. But what surprised you the most about life after graduation that you didn't anticipate?
Um.
Like any feelings you had inside or
Well, we will start with like the obvious ones, right? I think the biggest one was when you wake up on what's supposed to be the first day of school. So you got all your friends back in school, like, oh my gosh, first day of school. I'm like, oh my gosh, no homework, no tests.
mm,
Final season, oh my gosh, final season was huge because everyone was like, oh my gosh, studying for finals. I'm stressed out. Oh my gosh, is this finals week or my final week? Right? I'm like, I already graduated. I'm chilling. So I
mm,
think that's the biggest surprise for me, right? And then it also amazed me how much time you really get back, right? Assuming that you don't just go straight into the workforce, right? how much time you gave towards studying, towards homework, towards your extracurriculars, right? And without it, what are you doing? So now you have more space to kind of explore yourself. What hobbies you doing? You reading books? You traveling somewhere? Or you
Mm-hmm.
just rotting in bed all day? Nothing wrong with rotting in bed. I rot in bed sometimes. But
Mm-hmm.
just being amazed on how much time you were dedicating towards your degree and how much time you've now gotten back after it. I think that's huge. Because I feel like even like maybe even for you, like while you're working, because I think with school, it's like you're never really done, right? Because and you could be studying at any point in the day, you could be doing your homework at any point in the day. But you get off of work, what you doing?
Mm-hmm. I'll be doing
That,
this. I
hey, you
chill.
found your
I just gotta
hobby.
yeah, yeah. So that's why I started this. I needed a hobby and I only had so much time in the day to give advice to people. So I decided to
Mm-hmm.
give that like on demand resource and not just share my perspective, but other people's perspective too. And I just got a PlayStation, so I've been on that a lot more lately. I got it on Black Friday, so I've been on that a lot more lately after work, and then I just been chilling. Oh, been working out, NSBE stuff, of course, FAMU National Alumni Association stuff, and yeah, I finally found my balance, so that's good. It took about 4 months into my career to find my
Yeah.
balance, but I finally found it. So that's what I'll be doing after work and stuff. You know, redecorate my room. Decided to expand my vinyl collection.
I see the vinyls. I got some vinyls too. I don't got a vinyl player. I need to get me a vinyl player.
I don't have one either. These for decoration.
Right.
These for decoration. So yeah, I have a lot of vinyl. Been collecting them. Been reading as well. Listening to audiobooks. Yeah, I just been kind of just chilling out. I've traveled a few times. Been to Atlanta twice this past few months. Orlando twice. Tallahassee for recruitment.
Mm,
I'm going to Texas for um, I'm going to Texas for like week of Christmas, and then I'm going to Philadelphia. Then I'm going to Orlando again for New Year's. So I'll be all over the place the next.
word.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm doing my best to like take the time and like travel because we have a company slowdown around Christmas. So
Hmm.
it's like our winter break. They're encouraging people to take time off, but you don't
Yeah.
have to take time off. So yeah, but last question I have for you is while you're in the job searching phase in your life, how are you still making sure your skills are sharp and are there new skills you're working on developing?
Um. So I would say, well, for one, right, kind of recognize what you put on your resume. So like for
Mm,
me, I have some like coding languages on there. I got like AutoCAD 3D modeling. They gonna ask you questions in those interviews. So if you don't like touch up on it, play around with the programming just to make sure your mind's still fresh. So when you get into the interview, you're not like, it's been a minute. I'm kind of rusty.
yeah.
That's huge, right? And then also, um, one thing I'm recognizing, right, is like for the most part, everyone who like applies for jobs, but they kind of have like the desired skills they have on there, right?
Hmm.
So if they're saying, oh, we want you to be well versed in MATLAB, just so MATLAB out there, right? Saying, okay, well, if I want this job, or if you're seeing like a trend where they're saying, oh, we need you to know some MATLAB, or we need you to be well versed in AutoCAD, or whatever skill it may be, right? Saying, okay, while I have all this time, let me touch up on this skill, right? Let me, if I didn't know it before, let's figure it out now. So that way I can speak on it when I get to an interview. Um, and I think another big thing that I I was told yesterday when I was leaving the little dinner we had for the Lockheed sniper team. One of my old coworkers, he said, find a need, right? Find a skill that's heavily needed in the industry. Learn that skill. Make them need you,
Hmm.
right? That way you stand out. And like they're gonna be saying, oh, he had the skill that we need. You're basically setting a monopoly on that skill. Be that person they have to come to if they need something, and that way they'll never forget your name. So I think like maybe one of those things may be like databases, cameo doors. Just be well versed in something so that way people know to come to you for it. And I think people steadily, you'll find more opportunities coming your way.
Got you. Well, thank you once again, Jalen. Do you have any closing remarks?
Closing remarks. Be great. Be you. Be great. Be the you want to be.
Be the you want to be. I feel like I feel like someone said that before, but you know, no, we're gonna leave it in there. We're gonna leave it in
there. Jalen exclusive today. That was just off the dome. Put that in the book.
That's funny. But yeah, Jalen, once again, thank you so much for being on. Time of your traveling schedule and whatnot, and just grateful to have you on.
Hey, like I said, it's an honor to be here in your presence, man. Bring me on for another episode when I have a job, maybe.
Yeah, we'll do a life update, you know, later down the line. One person I interviewed yesterday, he was like, we need to do another one 5 years from now to see where we're both at. I'm like, okay, cool, that would be good.
No, that'd be dope. That'd be
nice
dope.
Little. You're like previously on this episode, we're talking about this. Now we're talking about stuff. So, but yeah, definitely for sure. Once the podcast starts expanding, definitely want to bring some guests back on who were on previously, see where we're all at. But yeah, closing out. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for the viewers watching this or viewer watching this. If you enjoyed the content you liked in this video, please like, comment, subscribe for more, and even share with a friend. And feel free to go back to watch previous videos. You know, this is season 2. You know, it's a revamp of season 1. Season 1 had a good start. We're having a good start right now with season 2. So feel free to go back and look up some more episodes, get some more gems. Until next time, we'll see you on whenever the next not whenever the next episode comes out. I'm just playing with y'all. We'll see you on the next episode of the R.A.H podcast. And once again, I'm Rahsaan Corbin II. Have my guest Jalen Donald on. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.